The Magic Box. An old couple had a son. When he grew up, his father did not know what trade to teach him, but finally decided to apprentice him to a master who made all kinds of objects. He went to town and agreed with the master that the boy should be his apprentice for 3 years and come home only once during that time. Then he brought his son to the master. The young fellow lived with him for 1 year, then for another. Soon he learned how to make precious things and surpassed his master. Once he made a clock worth about 500 rubles and sent it to his father. "Perhaps he can sell it," he said, "and ease his misery." But the father would not even think of selling it. He could not feast his eyes enough on that clock because his son had made it. Finally, the day came for the young fellow's visit to his parents. His master was a magician and said, "Go, I give you 3 hours and 3 minutes. If you fail to return on time, you will die." The son thought, "How will I travel so many versts to my father?" Answering his thought, the master said, "Take this carriage. As soon as you sit down on it, blink your eyes." Our fellow did this, and no sooner did he blink his eyes than he found himself at his father's house. He stepped down from the carriage and came into the room, but no one was there. His father and mother, seeing a carriage drive up to their house, had been frightened and hid themselves in the cupboard near the stove. It took their son a long time to persuade them to come out. They greeted one another. The mother wept, for they had not seen each other in a long time. The son gave them presents he had brought for them. While they exchanged blessings and conversed, time passed by. 3 hours passed. Only 3 minutes remained. Now only 2. Now only 1. An evil spirit whispered to the young man, "Hurry up, else your master will take you to task." The young man was worried, said farewell to his parents, and left. Soon he arrived at his master's house, and an evil spirit tormented his master because his apprentice was late. The young man apologized to his masters, fell at his feet, and said, "Forgive me for being late. I'll never do it again." The master only chided him and truly forgave him. Our young man resumed his former life and began to make all sorts of things better than anyone else. The master thought, "If the young man leaves me, he will take all my trade away, for he is now better than his master." So he commanded him, "Worker, go to the underground kingdom and bring me a little box that stands on the king's throne." So together they made a long ladder by sewing one thong to another, and attached a little bell at each seam. The master lowered his apprentice into a ravine and told him to pull one thong as soon as he got the box. This would set the bells to ringing, and the master would hear him. The young man went down into the earth, saw a house, and entered it. A score of peasants rose from their seats, bowed to him, and in one voice said, "Welcome, Prince Ivan." The young man was surprised. What an honor! He entered another room that was filled with women. They too stood up and bowed to him. They said, "Welcome, Prince Ivan." All these people had been sent there by the master. Then the young man went into a third room. There he saw a throne, and on the throne a box. He took the box, went from the house, and all the people followed after him. They came to the long ladder, shook it, tied a man to it, and the master pulled it. The apprentice intended to tie himself to the ladder with the box, when all the others had been raised up. The master pulled out half the people, Suddenly, one of his workers came running to tell him that an accident had happened in his shop. The master ordered his worker to pull everyone out from the underground except the peasant's son, and left the spot. So all the people were pulled out by the thongs, and only our young man was left. He walked and walked in the underground kingdom, and at last happened to shake the box. Thereupon 12 strong fellows appeared and asked, "What is Prince Ivan's desire?" "Pull me up to the surface." The men seized him and lifted him out. He did not go to his master, but to his father. Meanwhile, the master remembered the box, ran to the ravine, and shook the ladder, but his apprentice was gone. The master thought, "Apparently he has gone off somewhere. I must send someone for him." After some time, the peasant's son chose a fertile spot, tossed the box from one hand to the other, and suddenly 24 strong fellows appeared. "What is your desire, Prince Ivan?" "Build a kingdom on this spot and let it be better than all other kingdoms." In no time the kingdom was there. Our young man established himself there, married, and began to live gloriously. In his kingdom there was a little fellow, quite insignificant, whose mother often came to Prince Ivan begging for alms. Her son said to her, "Mother, steal the little box from our king." One day Prince Ivan was not at home. His wife gave the old woman alms and left the room. The old woman snatched the box, put it in a bag, and brought it to her son. He tossed the box from hand to hand, and the same strong fellows jumped out. He ordered them to cast Prince Ivan into a deep ditch, where only cattle carcasses were thrown, and disposed of his wife and parents. He made them lackeys or banished them somewhere. He himself became king. And so the peasant's son sat in the ditch a whole day, then a second, then a third. How could he get out? He saw a huge bird dragging a carcass. Just then a dead animal was thrown into the ditch, so he tied himself to it. The bird swooped down, snatched the carcass, carried it out, and perched on a pine tree. Prince Ivan dangled there, for he could not untie himself. A huntsman appeared and took aim and shot. The bird took wing and flew away, dropping the dead cow from its claws. The cow fell, and Prince Ivan fell with it. He untied himself and walked down the road, wondering how to recover his kingdom. He felt in his pocket, and there was the key of the box. He tossed it, and 2 strong men jumped out. "What is your desire, Prince Ivan?" "You see, brothers, I am in trouble. We know it, and it's lucky that we 2 remained with the key. Couldn't you bring me the box, brothers?" Prince Ivan had no sooner said this than the 2 men brought him the box. When he beheld it, he took heart and ordered the beggar woman and her son to be put to death, and became king as before.